My bad if this sounds a little off and weird. I kind of lost half of the intro. I don't know how that happened. But beyond that, welcome to a new episode of Fit the Description, a black men's podcast where various black men come together to talk about life, society, entertainment, culture, news, and whatever else we want to talk about from various black men's perspectives. I'm your host, G. And today we got Norris.
Hold on.
And we'll probably have others join in at a later time. We'll see what happens. But anyways, just to let y'all know, we're on Spotify, we're on Amazon. Just to make it easy for you, as you see, we're here on Amazon, iTunes, all various podcast platforms. Also, do me a favor and make sure to check out the Clip website, Fit the Description, and bring that up real quick. Fit the Description here on YouTube. As you see, we have a clips channel. We got various clips. I know this podcast tends to be long, so if you just want to get short, quick forms of this podcast, please check out the Fit the Description on YouTube. And we're also on various other platforms, which you can find the link down below. And beyond that, I thought we'd just go ahead and get started. I know for y'all who's listening to the podcast, it doesn't seem like you missed a beat. But to be honest, it's been about, at least for me, about 4 weeks since we recorded because I had to go away for a while. But I am back, and we are back to do this every other, well, for y'all, every week. Well, every other week an episode, but every week a chapter. So Norris, man, what's been new with you, man? Now that we're back.
Dealing with life. It's a lot of obstacles in the way.
Oh, yeah, like everybody. I know, and I'm sure. And you know what? I want to actually start off this podcast only because we talked about it the last podcast, and I did it with B, but since B's not here, I gotta make some corrections on. Well, I should say correction. I should say things change a lot in about 3 weeks. Well, technically 4 now. And I said a lot of interesting things because you weren't there for it, but me and B actually went through our 100 top cryptos.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to, stop, and we won't go so long because I know our investment. Oops, B just hit me up. Okay, all right, cool. B just said he's gonna come on. Since B just hit me and said he's probably gonna come on in a sec, I thought I'll wait for him since he was on that podcast to maybe just talk about the economy, man, and what you think about what's going on.
Same old. It's the flux going on because I don't know if everybody pays attention, but usually there's some sort of war that happens when we're in a recession. It's crazy.
Is there? Because
yeah, I'm gonna be quiet though.
No. What about 2000? What about 2008?
2008. I have to think back and get my dates exact. But if you can remind me, who was our president back then? Do you remember?
2008. I think it was Bush going on to Obama.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, during that time period, they were still on the search and hunt for, what's his name? Bin Laden? Was that who they were looking for?
Yeah, but that started back in 2001.
I know when that started, but I'm saying with that start, that I feel like recession is almost initiated by war.
I'm not sure if I necessarily agree because there's been plenty of wars. I mean, hey, there's wars going on that we don't even know about that's going on.
I'm talking about the ones we know about.
I don't know if I fully believe that. Like I said, I gotta look back at history.
Okay.
Like honestly, like I had to look into it. Like I'm not really well researched on it.
There's certain patterns that happen, is all I'm saying.
You want to describe them a little bit?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, there's correlations with certain events. So I remember graduating from high school in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly thereafter, there's a recession. Shortly thereafter as well, there's what do they call that when they recruit people into the military before you even think or consider going to college? The draft. They were drafting.
No, they weren't drafting.
Yes, they were.
No,
Yes, they were.
no.
I promise you they were.
There's no that you can no the draft. No, there was no draft. There was no like, hey, you're here. You need to go straight to war.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you this one time.
Go ahead.
They were drafting because I remember when I was completing my financial aid. Yes, I do not come from the most wealthiest background.
You and me both.
but I remember I was completing my FAFSA application and whatnot, and they asked the particular question of if you've already completed one of your filing thing for the draft. Now, what I mean by they were drafting, as in they were shipping people off that were already in things like the reserves for the most part and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
but that's
But they
different.
were still drafting your paperwork saying that at any given moment you might be called upon.
Yeah, but that's everybody. Well, that's every
No,
male
it's
when you turn
not.
18.
Nah,
Yes, it
nah,
is.
nah, nah, nah.
Legally,
That's
you
not
have to.
true because we've been going through different wars, but in between time, and that never had happened.
No,
I'm
yes, it
telling you
has.
that.
You always when you turn 18, you have to sign that paper saying that you're available for the draft they ever bring it back. So that's the same what you're talking about. So I wouldn't necessarily call that a draft. A draft is basically like you and me, we're civilians and they need people for war. Like what happened? What was it? What was it? Like what happened? I can't remember the years, but like what happened with Muhammad Ali? That he was drafted.
Mm-hmm.
He did not choose to be, he was not in the military. He did not choose to go to war. That is drafted. That like being on
So the
reserve.
first portion of the drafting was happening, is my point.
Yeah, but I still want to call that a draft. Personally, I'm just
What
saying
would
like
you call it if you got to fill out paperwork that's saying you could be drafted? That's like initiation, at
yeah,
least at bare minimum.
yeah. But like I said, every male has to do that when they turn 18. I had to do it. Every man has to do that. I'm not saying I like it, but it is what it is. You know, you have to fill out when you turn 18. Well, every man has to fill it out. Women, not so much. Men, yes. All of us had it. So that's why I said I wouldn't necessarily call that a draft.
There's dips that happen in the economy
Mm-hmm.
because of certain stuff is happening. Now, how that's all resourced and how things are going on, the truth ain't out there for public knowledge. I'll start there.
Agreed.
So, in actuality, half the time we don't even know the real reason behind we're going to war. Not us, not civilians. Um,
Well, let me.
on
I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish.
on top of that, it's always interesting to find out which resource or resources is what we're lacking in, which one it is.
Mm-hmm.
You ever find that funny? I mean, we done went through chicken wing shortages, tissue paper shortages, oil shortages, all kinds of different shortages, you know?
Yeah.
And we outsource a lot of stuff in the US.
I mean, yeah. Which I would say today we're starting to see the results of that, and that didn't really work out well. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, but anyway, so okay, so the point what I was gonna make real quick was, and I agree. I would say we typically don't know it, or at least, especially not at first, we don't really know what's going on, especially when we're going to a war.
Mm-hmm.
People always find a reasons to take us there, and then look at the Afghan war. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but my point with that is that how much would you say we don't know compared to we don't look into.
Well, the media, sorry,
Mm,
tells us what is, well, supposedly.
exactly.
um, Looking into is a bit difficult because even if you do look into things internationally on the web, social media, stuff like that, it's funny, not funny. I'm using the wrong word. Um, it's a very serious situation that we can't receive certain information as well as outside can't receive certain information. I
Yeah.
remember there's certain like a flyer. Matter of fact, I have a friend that lives overseas, and we're in a group chat, but they can't receive that message. It's just a regular flyer for an event happening out here, an actual like dance event or whatever.
Yeah.
But they can't receive that. So like there's a disconnect when it comes to finding out information about certain stuff.
Well, so if you want to talk about disconnect, which that's a good strong word. I do agree that there's a disconnect, but especially when we want to talk about modern times, I want to say it's if you want to talk about just getting information around, I think there's a multiple things that's kind of messing things up. Number one, I think, well, I'll tell you the biggest thing. I think it will solve all the problems if we will start doing this. Is that people who really don't see eye to eye and disagree don't ever have to come into the same room and force to have a conversation. I think that's probably one of the biggest issues. So you
Mhm.
got one side say one thing, one side say the other. They have strong beliefs, but they're not really being challenged. And the
Mhm.
people who do tend to challenge both sides, they tend to be very biased on who they choose to challenge them. You know,
Yeah.
and I really don't like that. I think a lot of people, particularly a lot of these news networks, have the ability to just say and report whatever they want, but had the protection to be behind a computer screen, but never really have to face the people who they report on. And I think that's I mean, it's one of the things that has its negatives, but I will say it's the one of the things that I do respect about, hip hop news. Because the one thing about hip hop news, I think we all know, I think we all heard the stories that, you know, if you say something crazy about somebody, sooner or later you're probably gonna be confronted by that same dude. You know. Now,
Yeah.
do I always do I what's the right word? Do I support the way that that issue gets handled sometimes? No. But
Mm.
I am happy that at least, yeah, if you say something, you gotta get pressed on instead of just being able to say, oh, I could say and report whatever I want. And but you don't have the ability to be challenged. And I think that's one of the biggest issues. So basically how I get my news, and I always tell people how to do it. I usually I particularly look at the people who I know who make a distinct effort to talk to the other side and it's not afraid to debate them because I realize that people that really believe in what they believe in, they ain't afraid to go to the other side and have a conversation.
Yeah.
It's the ones that have a lot to say but run from confrontations are usually the ones that I inherently know, and I think they know that their views are very shaky.
Well, um, that's when you start hearing talk of, are you imposing on freedom of speech? Um, these little tactics to get away from needing to respond.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a need of response of, and there has to be a very distinct thing of understanding of not responding just with feeling or
That's the biggest
just
issue.
with like certain things. It's a response of, there's quite a bit of logic in there, there's quite a bit of like, there's feeling as well, there's has different parts to it, but I think people don't respond in certain factors because they're scared with certain stuff. There's certain retaliations that happen, you know, when you say certain things.
Oh yeah, no, I
Um,
I totally agree with that.
and that's that that right there is something that certain people that are actually, I'm gonna just use the term wolf, they'll hide behind that.
Yeah.
They'll hide and use that, you know, to their advantage.
Real quick, I think B's up in here.
What's up, you guys?
Yay.
Yeah. Were you hearing what we were talking about?
Yeah, I was listening.
I'll give you a chance if you want to respond and put your 2 cents in.
Yeah. So when it comes to like really finding out the truth and all that other stuff, when it comes to news media and information, it's it's kind of impossible to do during this day and age. I mean, you have to first you got to look at we got mainstream news media, and then you got independent news media, independent journalism. So you gotta do the research on where they're getting their information from, and so forth, so forth, so forth. Then you gotta think about what's allowed to be viewed in the U.S. and what's allowed to be viewed in other countries. For instance, like Ukraine. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of restrictions on the internet that Ukraine is putting onto their citizens right now because they don't want the whole global or the whole world to find out what's the truth and really or what's really happening right now in their country and what's happening during that war. So you got to take that into consideration as well. You also probably going to have to talk find some way to communicate with people that's actually living within that country, because I'm pretty sure they know something that's happening that we as people over here do not know. So you got to get in communication with those people that actually lives in that country, that actually knows the laws and their leaders and who's running that show. So there's and then you gotta filter out all the other garbage and all the other naysayers who just throwing out a whole bunch of false information and all that other stuff. So it's kind of hard to truly find out what's real, what's not real, what's the truth, and what's not the truth. You know, we gotta understand these whoever who's running the show, they're good at this shit. They are good. They practically have mastered the art of confusion and confusing the public. So, but still, but there's always still, but even for them, there's always still that threat of individual who will eventually find out the truth. You know, that's why they like to throw around terms like conspiracy. You're a conspiracy theorist, or where your information is not valid. Blah 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 blah. You know, so even if you did found the truth, they got a lot of counters to make you still look bad. So it's just hard, man. I always say, if you know, you know. If you know, you know, and you just got to understand that, you know, most people won't believe you. Most people will look at you as a joke. Only a few will actually truly listen and truly will retain that information and fact check you and retain it from there. I mean, why else do you think things like, if you can look at all these YouTube channels, for instance, all the ones that actually do give you real information, they had no followers. No, the ones that will feed you the garbage, they got millions of subscribers, millions of views. You know, and
I don't
once,
know. I don't know if I'll necessarily say that's true with all of them.
not all, but
And I wouldn't even say I wouldn't always just say that it's the fact that the large ones that are liar. Are there some that you need to fact check? Yes, absolutely. But I also believe it's that I think a lot of them are very hyper biased, and I think that's more of a bigger issue.
well, you gotta fact check everybody.
Well, yeah.
Everybody, yeah.
But then that goes back to the argument I had with both you and Norris. I don't know if we had on the podcast or off when we talk about studies, whatever, and how, you know, as particularly with Norris, because I know for a fact I talked to Norris about this on the podcast. When you sit down and say, well, studies are a lie, and I always say that that's not how you should argue a study, as in, you know, just disregard the numbers and everything and say, well, studies can be a lie. I always say the way you should argue a study and the proper way that you should do it, because this is my issue with when you guys argued it with me, was you shouldn't argue the information. You should actually go find the study for yourself and then argue the study for yourself, then come with a conclusion. Because just trying to argue a person that has the study and has the information, that doesn't mean nothing. Because at the end of the day, if you're just going to disregard it because it goes against your belief system or your narrative, then at that point, you're just picking and choosing what you want to believe. And that in itself can also lead to chaos. So that was kind of one of my issues when we had an argument. I'm particularly going to know it's about this because we actually had this, well, I should say argument, but this discussion on the podcast that we didn't really get into.
I still disagree.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Well,
when it comes to numbers
go ahead.
can be rigged. Like, that's a fact. Like, that's true. Numbers can be rigged.
I didn't deny that. But
now, with them possibly being rigged and you saying do the research and do this work and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you do all that work of what you talking about, tell me if I'm lying. By the time you do all that work, that's what you talking about, everybody ain't moved on to some things else, because that's how they manipulate the system with media.
No, I get that, but still, like, are you saying that we're just supposed to just like you're just going to give people the freedom just to believe what they want to believe and then go on and just have a biased fact that's totally incorrect and can be proven incorrect?
First part of the statement, yes, I'm going to allow people to believe what they believe because that's what you're supposed to do. Second part of that statement, yes, you should fact check, but I am reiterating one of the core of the issues is time.
I get that. And
you looking at a very specific number, very specified to a specific region, people, whatever the case may be.
Yes.
When you finally find out the true fact, that one true fact, and come back to share with the people, that information has changed. And not only that, everybody else is on something else.
But you guys said it could always come back. So
it
when
can
you have
come back.
So when you have the information, because it does, because the one thing about how information changes fast, that information usually always gets brought back around. And then when somebody comes and challenges it, you can sit there and say, I got to say right here, that crap's false. And this is the reason why. So I think, okay, if you want to talk about short term, maybe I could get by, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't look into it, just disregard, just believe what you want to believe, because again, even that ideology right there can lead to a situation of chaos and problematic within itself, because you're just not.
That
go ahead.
Is the point. That is the point. And my whole point of saying what I am saying is we are in limbo of trusting in what we believe and trusting in fact. We are in limbo between the two because we're getting fed information faster than we can process.
Agreed. Yes, absolutely. That's why I say with that happening, you should not argue a person who comes with a study just because you disagree with it. I don't mind, like, short term, okay, you can agree with it then. You should sit there and say, all right, let me find information for myself and then I'll get back to you. You're right. Things have changed. But guess what? When that conversation comes back again, just like I brought up, hey, remember when you said this? I mean, I'm not saying that you do. You made this point. But and this is why I have this argument to go against that, because I think the way you argue, the way you said that is flawed or wrong. And that's the same thing how I believe in a study where it's that, all right, that's cool. You can believe, like you said, you can believe what you want short term. That's fine. But I want to do my own research, look into it, and then, oh, here's a counter to that study, and this is why it's wrong, and that is and why it's flawed.
Yeah.
Because arguing with people on studies, I think that's a flawed way to argue. Because again, I think it's way more dangerous to let people pick and choose what is right. Then I mean, my fault. What is fiction? What's fact? No, I had to reframe that.
But that's what they're doing.
I know what's doing, and it's causing a lot of problems today, and we're dealing with the problems today. So I'm not,
because it's not happening, and initiation wise, it's not happening with people per se. You know,
Yeah,
it's happening in media. It's happening all over the place. That's where it started.
yeah, and
then the confusion added because of everybody's different thoughts, everybody's different beliefs, everybody's different everything.
Yeah, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with having, like I said, there's nothing wrong with having a different belief and a different opinion, but at least take time to look into what you're talking about and know what at least. I'm not saying everybody, because not everybody could be a researcher or be media personality. Like not a lot of people don't have time, but at least do your job. And at least, well, okay, not talking to me, but just talking to people. At least take some time, at least read something on it to try to get some truth, or let's like at least try to find a fact-based source, so it's that at least so you can at least understand what the situation is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
go ahead.
yeah. So when it comes to the whole chart things, this well, I think what would really help people's argument if people actually put their sources down in the description. Just like how you when you write down when you write an essay in school, you had to put your references down, your sources down. Too many people is just bringing up charts. You don't know where they came from. You don't know who's behind these charts. You don't know how many people that they actually asked in order to verify these charts. You don't know if these charts are just estimates or facts. And so much more. It's just that's why I hate the whole chart thing. Or when people using all these charts. I mean, is it an outdated chart? Is the chart current? I mean, there's so many questions to ask because people don't place down their sources in the description.
Well, even with that being said, I mean, there are studies that have been done back in the 70s and 60s that still apply today. So how can you say? I mean, I can agree if you're saying that chart may be out of date, and it's already been updated. That's fine. But if a study's already been done and it's done in the 70s, you're just going to disregard it because it was done in the 70s. That argument doesn't make sense either.
Once again, we gotta make sure. What's all the implications to make that chart? How many people did they actually interview? Was it an estimate? Was it a factual thing? I don't know. Actually, I ain't gonna lie. The only reason I did the research, I just didn't care.
Exactly. And
but
go ahead.
But at the same time, I just know. So I mean, people could believe me or not believe me. It is what it is.
But that's where it becomes a problem. When you just say something without any backing, you're just going on your own biased opinion, and you can be wrong. and it can't be proven wrong.
Okay, yeah.
So,
But then that person can come back and fact check me.
oh my God. But now you're kind of running. But now you're arguing. You just kind of put yourself in a circle.
No, I didn't. I can admit when I'm wrong. If you come back and prove that I'm wrong, I'll admit that I'm wrong.
All right. You know what? I got just so I don't have to go. I'll just accept two facts of what you said. That you're allowed to fact check yourself if you're wrong. So somebody comes at you with facts, you're willing to accept that. Mm-hmm. That I could relive with. I forgot the other thing that you just said, so I can't remember the second part. But like I'll accept that. But all I'm saying is that I'm not just going to deny somebody's. I'm not going to deny a study, because most studies, especially when they're presented, a lot of them they usually come from research. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll go ahead and, like, for example, so I'll even give Norris this credibility, because it's like a study was done, and one thing that they said was police killings is not as prevalent as what they think they are in America. And that, hey, I could definitely accept that study. At the same time, I also can accept the fact you don't account for everything. You don't account for all the abuse that they do. We don't account for all the manipulation. We don't account for all the lies, because there's a lot of X factors that's not that's another thing. Yeah. What you just said. That, yeah. Mm-hmm. Because like a lot of that could just be seen just through a personal experience, Mm-hmm. Like for me, like the way I look at things, like I would never deny a fact, but I could always argue a fact, even just through personal experience from time to time. Like I always say, I told you this, B, this. The way I usually get my information, yes, I do go by studies, because the only reason why you got to do studies a lot of times, because you got to have backing when you argue certain people. You can't just argue because they're just not going to believe you. Like, you got to have some kind of backing sometimes. So depending on such situation, I do that. Or I always tell people, I also go by patterns of behavior. I always look at patterns. I never just, go off of what I say. I usually when I try to find my truth, especially when it comes to personal experience, I usually do my research, look into it. I look at personal experience, I look at patterns of behaviors, and I ask a bunch of people who I'm around. And from there, I get all the information, I put it all together, and then at that point come to my conclusion. That's how I normally do things. So it's one of the reasons why, like even I brought up on this podcast, when I make certain arguments, I can't fully stamp some of my arguments, because I'm missing some of the way I do my research before I could stamp something as fact, Mm-hmm. So, I mean, all I'm saying is this, and this is kind of just the main point of the argument, is that I just don't believe that we should just disregard numbers and studies just because we don't agree with them, or we don't have them in our face. I do definitely think that, yeah, like if you feel like, okay, I get what that study says, but there could be some issues with it, but I'm just not going to disregard it. That's all I'm saying. Like I'm not saying you got to agree with it, but I will say this, is that until you're willing to do the research, I just don't believe that you should just disregard, evidence until you do the research, but you could definitely challenge it and just through your own experience, which I agree more with that.
Yeah, I don't disregard the numbers, but the man, like I said, maybe because I said people, when they bring up these charts, like I said, they don't really state where they get it from. They don't put no links, no reference, or anything in the description. So I'm listening, but it's at the same time, it's just like, well, I mean,
well, and sometimes, depending on what you're doing. I mean, honestly, I don't necessarily expect that from a normal person. I don't really mind that. I more expect that from for like a news source and a news media. Do I think that you should put your source, whatever? Yeah, but not everybody has the time to do that. That's why I more agree that you shouldn't just believe everybody, because not everybody gets it right, and some people have very biased views. Because of those biased views, they're only going to see the truth in the way they see things, and that in itself is problematic.
Yeah, but well, especially people who have big platforms. I mean, that's them not putting these things down. I just think it's just reckless.
Well, this is why I always say, especially with guys with big platforms, I always say, like, if you're going to listen to certain people, what you need to do, and I'm making an admission that I really I listen to all sides, and sometimes I do listen to the bias views just so I know where they're coming from. But the big thing that I do is the people that I really listen to, I really am willing to give, allow my time to listen to the points, are the ones that are not afraid to go debate the other side, and not the ones that they choose that are safe. I'm talking about the ones that are actually going to challenge them.
Mm-hmm.
People like that, those are the people that you should listen to, because those are the people that I don't know if you heard me, but I just told Norris earlier. The people that truly believe in what they believe in, they're not afraid to go to people that disagree with them and argue their point.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that you should really listen to, because those people really believe in what they believe in, basically, and they're willing to go to the other side to really debate somebody that really disagree, because at those point in times, that's when you truly really get the actual truth and the facts,
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't have papers, whatever. It's you can just listen to people, how people argue. You can be like, hold on, that don't make sense, but well, that makes sense. And from there, so that's why I make it a really key point to when I tell people, if you're going to listen to people, number one, not only should you listen to both sides, but you should also really go to, especially with people with big platforms, really only listen to the people that are willing to make the effort, not to hide behind screens, but willing to go at the person that they disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Yeah, someone who could, admit when they're wrong. I think that's the more.
I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't say admit that they're wrong. It's just they're willing to be challenged. I don't need you to admit that you're wrong. I just need to see a different point of view. That's all I need. And then at that point, I can make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
I think Norris just said it. Some people believe in what they believe in, and you can't do anything to change it. And that's totally fine. I just want to hear from the other side and see why they believe in what they believe in.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want. You give me that, I could get a better I could get a better I could see the picture a lot better than just listening to the same person all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That gets you nowhere.
All right.
So it's like what I designed this podcast to be.
Is Nora still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Anything you want to add before we move on?
Let's not move too far away from the subject. We were talking about the economy.
Yes. And now that B is here. So you missed the first part because we were moving away. So I kind of want to talk about the economy because you were here on the last podcast and we were talking about crypto and stuff. And it's been about 3 weeks since we actually, almost about 4 weeks since we actually did a podcast. And I'm like, it might be the responsible things for us to maybe kind of correct. Well, I should say correct, but update some of the things that we said back then, because that podcast was done 3 weeks ago and we went through our top 200. And I think we both can admit a lot has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying we got to do necessarily a deep dive right now because we really don't have our finance crew here. But I do want to give us a chance, an opportunity to kind of maybe update our thoughts about things.
Well, yeah. So And we're talking about in the crypto sense, right?
I want to make it vague so Norris can get involved. Well, wait a minute. I think Norris knows crypto, but I don't know if you looked into it like we've had.
Heck no,
But
not as of recently either.
yeah, so I was just saying more in a general sense. Like, yeah, I want to touch on crypto a little bit, but
Yeah.
also like kind of just how we see things. So
Yeah. Okay. I got you. Uh, there's a real touch on crypto. Well, excuse me. Crypto. Um, I'm pretty sure everyone's wallets are hurting.
I only got one crypto that's up right now.
Okay. And but um this recession or this bear market, I can see it lasting for quite a while. For quite a while. I don't know if we don't have uh and well everyone's just talking. No one really knows at this point.
Yeah.
But you hear people say, toward the end of the year it's gonna go back up, toward the end of June it's gonna go back up, so forth. So no one really knows, guys. So you kind of it's kind of every man for themselves. I just want. I think what we really need to pay attention to is what project is going to survive this whole fiasco. I think a lot of projects are not going to be around anymore.
Which I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not. It's not. So, like I said, and I would say for people to just have a focus. I know we like to put our money all over the place, and if you can, that's cool. Don't get me wrong, but pick focus on for instance, like if you're in Ethereum, I'll say the wise thing to do is just focus on things that's built on Ethereum, and or at least you can say like the top three, Ethereum, Polkadot, Cardano. Focus on um, focus on those assets, and then think about are these assets eventually going to have real world utility? Bless you. For instance, like if you're investing into something that involves storage or security and data, I think those are very wise investments to do. Invest in, invest into things that are created for Web3 and so forth, so forth. I think those are really, or blockchain, those are very wise investments to do. I think everything else, I kind of changed my mind on. Well, I'm trying to look at gaming coins a little bit different. No, I don't think they're very, very stable right now. I'm looking at metaverses kind of different right now. Just no, I'll say metaverses are a very, I say they're a very long hold, very long term hold. We're not even close when it comes to what the metaverse is described to do. We're just not close to for the metaverse to even be there. So I'll keep my eye. If you want to invest in it, that's cool. But those coins might take a little bit longer to blow up than something on the Polkadot, Cardano, or Ethereum.
So I'm just gonna do a quick rundown,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll let Norris say what he wants to do, and then at that point we could bring it all together. So I'm just gonna do a quick rundown, just my thoughts on everything real quick. So I kind of put it together. So first things first, when you talk about, because I know last time we talked about like the top 100, top 10. Okay, I may have to kind of change that, and I would say do your research in the cryptos that you invest in. Don't just put your money into everything. Make sure you know how the project works, because, like I said, I mean back then we both said, I know I said Celsius I liked, and I know we both were good with Luna, and that didn't work out well. So that whole entire top 10 thing, you might want to know what you're going into. I'll just real quick tell you the top projects that I'm into that I like, real quick. These are my top 5 cryptos. Now I'm not a financial advisor. Nobody's on here is financial advisors, but this is just what I think. But this is just what I think. Just doing a quick rundown. Bitcoin, of course, Ethereum. I'm a Cardano bull, so I'm going to say Cardano. I do agree with B when it comes to Polkadot. And then I want to say, which this is a chance coin. I want to tell anybody to invest in it unless you really kind of believe in it. Unless you're okay with risk. I have belief in it, but if you're not okay with risk, hey, I understand. But Shiba Inu is the last one I'm in because I really like that community. But again, I have my reasons for liking those coins, and I recommend if you're going to go into any crypto, you should go into cryptos that you like and do your research and make sure to know what the project does. Do your research. Speaking on the metaverse, when B brought up the metaverse, the problem with the metaverse is that the metaverse is it's a long ways away. I do believe that the metaverse can be something, but which one it is, we don't know because the metaverse is a very, very, very it's very young right now. And a lot of the metaverse that are going on now may not last a test of time. So I'll be very wary on metaverse because like I think some may could be around, but some of them are probably gonna die out. Do we know which ones? I don't know. What is I think there was one what's called Earth 2, I think that one had issues or some drama came out with that one. So again, the metaverse is the future, but it's gonna be a while because I don't even know what metaverse is probably gonna be Google because everything's young. B did say something about gaming coins. I'll be honest, out of all the crypto, I would say the one that had the most faith in, but you need to watch and wait and know which game it is gaming crypto. That I really do believe can be something one day, but it's gonna be a while. And because they're gonna do a lot of kind of like what you call it, what's the right word? Micro transactions schemes, and those you gotta kind of be careful of. So until it gets to a point where it's like it's a lot more fair and then more about game and gameplay, you're gonna have issues with that. But I do believe gaming crypto in the long run is gonna be one that you want to get into.
Yeah.
And lastly, NFTs. Uh, unless you got into the NFTs very early on, like when it first got implemented back in 2020. The thing about NFTs, I do believe is chancy and it's going to be a bubble. I will tell people this that NFTs can absolutely be something, but in my personal opinion, I will go for NFTs that actually have function because I think a lot of these NFTs right now, some of them may become big because of the artwork, whatever, but a lot of them they're not really going to be anything until they have functionality. Maybe if there's by celebrities, whatever, you got some pool, that's fine. But NFTs, I'm kind of like, I'm kind of iffy on.
Yeah.
Stock market. Let's go into the stock market. Stock market. I think we're going to go for a very shaky ride. From my research, from my understanding, we're in a rock and a hard place. I don't see us. From my understanding, we're probably not gonna come out of this well. Although I do think what you call it, there's a Fed meeting going on today. I haven't looked into it, so because it's supposed to be what's it called the a hike, but I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. I gotta look into it, but that's supposed to be happening today. When we get done with this podcast, I'll probably look more into it. The rate hike, that's what it said. It's supposed to be a rate hike today, but we'll see what happens with that. But I would just say if you're going to be invest, uh, I would be, I would definitely invest, but I'll be very kind of patient. if you're going to be in the stock market, invest very slowly. Same with crypto. I would invest very slowly and know what you're investing into, because it looks like the stock market is going to go through a bear market, and it looks like, from my understanding, we're between a hot rock and a hard place. So it's probably going to we're probably going to deal with this for a couple of years. Housing, because I was just talking to somebody about housing. From my understanding, I would not be thinking about trying to purchase a house right now. I guess things are probably going to go down. So if you're looking at buying a new house, if you could hold off, I would probably hold off, because from my understanding, my research, you're probably going to be able to get a house at a better price at a later date. So I would just hold off if you're looking to get a house. And lastly, well, I mean, with gas prices and stuff, oh yeah, no, this economy is pretty much screwed. So yeah, you got anything you want to add real quick, Norris?
Shoot, I want to invest in a electric truck.
I wouldn't call that an investment.
Yeah, I ain't talking about I'm not talking about like the Cybertruck. I'm talking about a truck.
What do you mean?
Like what do they call those trucks that have trailers on them? That do the shipping.
Oh,
big rigs.
Oh yeah, big rigs.
Yeah.
You say you want to invest in one of those?
I want to get an investment in one of those. You know how much money you would save on gas?
Mm-hmm. So you know how much money you can make?
That's my point. That's what I'm going. That right there looks like a good investment,
especially right now, because they're low on truck drivers. Because a lot of people are quit. Yeah. So if you get a truck driver, man, that's a lot of money.
I'm going, yeah, that look pretty nice. You know what I'm saying? Look pretty nice.
Yeah, but if you want to start a business, whatever, or like, hey, you could just trade those stuff and make bank right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you can get one of those, shoot, you be riding kind of nice right now.
That's what I want to do, but that's just an idea I had.
Yeah, but are you sure you want to be on the road that long?
Who said I would be on the road? You know, you can hire people, and yeah.
That's true. Shoot, and if I were you, yeah, I would say just start with one and then get yourself
exactly.
Yeah, if you get to you would actually make a lot of bank. I know a lot, especially right now, because a lot of truckers are quitting. Like, dude, I don't know, but like right by my house, they have trucker testing all the time. Shit. They are looking for truckers. They're looking for drivers right now, like crazy.
I'm just saying.
Oh no, I 110% agree. Shoot, man. Oh, and that's the last thing I want to say before I end. If you're not in a stable job, I recommend getting yourself a pretty good job or a decent job, because you're gonna need it through these rocky times. Mark my words.
Yeah.
Because crap is going to get crazy.
Stack your money. Stack your money.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it. You gonna need it.
Heck yeah. That's what I'm trying to do right now.
Oh, I know I have to get gone, so.
Oh man. Never want to stay on long enough, man. Come for a moment, leave in a second.
Yeah, I was here for a little bit.
Uh-huh.
I was here for an hour.
Yeah, we just could have been on here for a little bit longer. Well, granted, we had to start late because everybody showed up late, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But all right, man. Good to have you on here, man.
Yeah, man. My bad, you guys. My phone overheated, man. It's hot outside. It was gonna be that bad.
Yeah. It's cool, man. You want to shout out your stuff before you head out, Norris?
Oh, okay. So if you want to check out something interesting for the youth and whatnot, there's a non-profit organization called Crump Society. You can look it up on the internet, Google it, go ahead. It's spelled KRUMP Society. I'm pretty sure you know how to spell that. And you'll find out all kinds of information from the website to our merchandise to what the kids are doing, all kinds of different cool things. So yeah.
Yeah, it's right on the
Sweet.
screen. All right, man. All right, man. Good to have you on, man. And then, like I said, hopefully be on the next one.
Yeah, I'll try.
All right.
All right.
So, bro, you have a
Later,
good.
y'all.
All right, bro.
All right, go on.
Peace.